Hi all. This is one of the weirdest flies you're ever going to see. And it was described to me by a guy named Jim Gilsdorf, who wrote this book in 2006. I don't know how old Jim is now. He's probably certainly in his late 80s. Great guy, knows everything about fishing. Anyways, I was complaining about fishing nymphs or fishing tricos. We were brook trout fishing on the small creek, and I just said, you know what, I just have no patience with fishing with tiny little number 22 flies. There's just no way I can tie a 22 fly. He says, why would you ever do that? And I don't know why I made that sound. He actually sounds more like a cowboy. He's from I think Montana. Anyway, so he told me this way of tying things for tricos that are, it's so dumb, it makes total sense. Basically what he said was that when the fish are looking for tricos, they're not looking at one trico. If you ever see the way that they look in the water, they're tiny. They're like size 22, 24 hook size. But often in the water, they're in clumps. So he said, so he never ties them on anything smaller than a 10 or a 12. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, well, this is how I do it. So basically I have a size 10 hook here, dry fly hook, kind of standard dry fly hook. And I'm just putting some tan thread on it. When you see how this is done, it's just so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so once he has that, then he'll take some either deer hair or elk hair. I have some elk hair here, and I'm going to just take off a little clump. And I'm going to take about 3 or 4 strands here. See, I just have 3 or 4 strands, and I'm going to attach this to right above the hook there. Just attach it real well on there. Give it quite a few good turns so these things don't disappear on you. Kind of pull them back, move towards the front. Take another few strands. Doesn't have to be 2 or 3, 4. I usually put a few extra because they break off often when I'm doing this. Try to even them up as much as you can. And I'm going to put on another couple strands. You have to make that noise, by the way, when you're doing it. Okay, so I've got like a bunch of strands on here, almost too many, and we may tear off a few. Now I'm just going to half hitch this on here. A couple of you were asking, I use a straw to half hitch. This is just a McDonald's straw, and I cut a little angle on it, and it makes a great half hitch tool. There we go. So we've got that half hitched on there, and now we cut the thread. We're real close to being done already. So then I take these, and you kind of spread these out and kind of get it sort of as flat a profile as you can. Now this fly is very delicate, and you're only going to get 1 or 2 casts from it. But it's amazing how it works. In fact, it's a little terrifying how well it works. Then you take some kind of glue or whatever you have and just paint it on those strands. And you may have to do this a couple times depending upon how fast your glue is. Actually, I've never tried this with UV. This may work better with UV. But you do that, and then you take this crinkly kind of styrofoam and you sort of crinkle it on here as small as you can. And of course, I'm screwing it up because I'm doing it on camera. But basically, you kind of crinkle it on there, and it looks like clumps of tricos floating on the stream. There we go. Okay, that broke off. Let's see. There we go. Got a few more. Put a couple right here in the middle. and they'll break off and clump off. And there. Whoop. And I'm going to put a little more glue on here. This stuff I'm using just dries incredibly fast. Now this styrofoam stuff I used to have it, everything I bought was packaged in it. And now it's less likely to find its way in. And anyway, so there you go. There's a clump. Oops, I just screwed that whole thing up. There. So now we have a clump of Tricos floating on the surface, tied on a 10 hook. And that's as easy as it is. Once this dries, like I said, you'll get a couple casts out of it, but once it dries, it's not too bad. But it's a whole lot easier, and you can see it. So if your eyes are failing a little bit, this is a great way to do it. I've never seen it in any book. I have used it. It works. I don't know. Just it's like you can't get it any simpler than that. So there you go. That's the Jim Gilsdorf approach to tying a 22 or a 24 Trico.